This is the Brew World Order Podcast.
Welcome to the Brew World Order Podcast. My name is Mike Curtin. If you haven't subscribed yet, come on. Let's do this thing. This is episode number 39, and in this episode, I sit down with Josh Norris, co-owner of Witch Doctor Brewing Company in Southington, Connecticut. Josh talks to me about how he met his two partners, how they dealt with the changes that came along with COVID, and how they believe they might have a ghost in their brewery that likes to mess with doors, mostly just locking and opening them. Well, looks like these guys might need to invest in a witch doctor. Or maybe this ghost just wants to open new doors for them. I sure hope so anyway. Well, it's that time again. Time for you to sit back, crack open a beer, and enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, I'm Mike Curtin. This is the Brew World Order Podcast, and today I'm with Josh Norris of Witch Doctor Brewing Company in Southington, Connecticut. Growing up in Dayton, Ohio, Josh Norris had a passion for science. He wound up graduating from college with a degree in mechanical engineering. While attending college, he visited a local bar and tried his first craft beer. And not too long after, he visited his sister and brother-in-law in Virginia, and while he was there, his brother-in-law introduced Josh to the joy of homebrewing. It immediately sparked an interest. He wound up moving to Connecticut, where he was offered a job in engineering. Soon after that, he joined a homebrewing club where he was able to work on his homebrewing skills. It didn't take long till he decided to jump into the brewery game, and he set out to make it happen. And in 2017, he opened his doors to the public as Witch Doctor Brewing Company. And Josh is here with me today. Josh, how we doing?
Doing well. How are you, Mike?
I'm fantastic. So, you opened your brewery. Can you tell me how Mike C. and Rob Todd became part of the brewery, or how they worked their way into the picture?
Sure. So Mike came in when we were building out the brewery. He was actually living with a former member. He really just latched on and wanted to help. And he started out as, all right, I'll help bartend. And he just really quickly ingrained himself in the whole company and has been a part of the family ever since. Rob came in a little bit later. He came in shortly after we opened. The same former member wound up talking to him at a bar, and they got talking about brewing, and Rob really wanted to get back into the brewery game. He'd been out of it for a little while for personal reasons, but he came in just whatever we could use him for in the brewery area, which at the time was still building and still figuring everything out. So it was a little interesting to have an extra brewery person back then, but it wound up working out. And Rob is so much more knowledgeable than I knew back then. And he's a great guy. He's been both of those guys, Rob and Mike. The place would not be the same without him.
So what was that moment for you that it kind of hit you that you knew that you wanted to open a brewery?
I think it was when I started seeing the guys that owned the homebrew store that the homebrew club was based out of doing it.
They owned the brewery themselves?
Yes.
What brewery was that?
It's Firefly Hollow in Bristol. So
Okay.
I met Rich from Firefly shortly after he bought the Brew and Wine Hobby Shop in East Hartford. We just became real friendly with each other and got talking really easily, and it just kind of really brought the idea of owning your own business into an attainable idea for me.
Right.
And then he started working on a brewery that really see the stages of it happening, and he was talking to me throughout the process, bits and pieces about how it's going and what they're doing. And so they kind of did the same thing and brought it into that realm of, I think I can do this.
Right. So during that process of opening, from start to the moment you opened the doors, what do you think was the most challenging aspect for you personally? I mean, how did you go about finding the capital also, if that can kind of be intertwined into your answer?
Partly a life savings situation.
Okay.
A couple of family members very generous to want to be involved with my business.
Right.
And we found a good bank. after a really long time of looking.
Right. As I hear, that seems to be the situation.
I think a lot of people kind of go about it in similar ways.
Right. Was there anything else that was kind of challenging for you while opening?
Dealing with contractors and getting them to show up.
Right.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to secure a project manager for the job, and so it was kind of left on us.
Right. Okay.
That was extremely challenging. And then it was challenging getting permits through the state and the TTB at the federal level.
Right.
It always takes a lot of time and a lot of rehashing paperwork and sending in additional stuff.
So, speaking of paperwork and whatnot, you were a big advocate for House Bill 5036. The small breweries can only sell 9 liters.
I was kind of the guy saying maybe we need to take a stronger look at this.
Right.
The 9 liters was great, but also attached to that bill was the part where they yank our liquor privileges away from us and make us go through the process of getting a whole new permit for that.
That's a little bizarre.
I'm going through that process right now as well.
Really?
Yeah, they're actually part of that situation in that bill. You kind of have the choice between purchasing only Connecticut-made liquor or installing a full kitchen to get what you want.
Okay.
In liquor. So we're working on getting a kitchen now because while we are all about the beer, the liquor definitely is appreciated by spouses, significant others,
right,
and family members that might be along that aren't into beer necessarily.
Gotcha.
Makes it a place for the whole family.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right, bring the whole family down. How did you wind up coming up with the name Witch Doctor?
That was sort of an idea I got after reading this book. I think it was called Sacred and Healing Beers.
Okay.
And it talked about the history of fermentation. There was stages in time where a lot of fermented beverages were getting a lot of like these quote-unquote healing herbs, different botanicals and things like that tossed into them.
Right.
And then just sounded witch doctor-y to me.
Right. So you were open for about 3 years before the whole COVID situation occurred. How strongly did that affect your business?
It's certainly not been an easy ride through this COVID thing. We had the shutdown. That was pretty rough. We were just doing can sales out the door. We really understand how much that tap room brings to us now. Right,
exactly. Kind of puts things into perspective for you.
Right, not that we didn't before, but having it taken away.
Yeah.
We actually had a pretty nice end of summer. The whole situation, we had to do a lot of outdoor seating. We had never done that much outdoor seating. We added a lot of seats to our patio. It was great. People loved it. Likely be doing that again. Yeah,
for sure. Kind of.
And then into the fall, it took a dip when things got bad in the holiday area. People didn't go out as much, and now we're starting to see them come back a little bit. Hopefully that'll continue. Hopefully we can see a little bit of normalcy sometime in the near future.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So what's something you never thought you were going to have to deal with in the brewing industry?
I didn't think I'd have to deal with as many permits as I do.
Oh, yeah. That's always fun, I'm sure.
I probably didn't think that I was going to be as involved with marketing as I am.
Okay. And what's your strategies for marketing?
We try to do as much on the internet as we can ourselves.
Right.
We throw a little money at social media ads from time to time. I think our whole attack at really most things is education first. Let's learn about how to do this thing and then figure out the best way for us to do it. The thing we can do is the online stuff. And then we do a radio commercial with 104.1. Currently, that's about it. We've tried a few other things here and there, and probably will continue to do so. But those are the things that we seem to like right now.
Okay. What do you think is one of the hardest adjustments you had to make personally when opening this?
Wow, so many adjustments. I definitely had to adjust to organizing my life and, while still being flexible, to kind of take care of things as necessary. It's a lot of things to kind of put on a plate if they're not lumped into nice, neat little piles.
Right, yeah, for sure. You have your life, and then you have your business, and everything else that falls in there.
I had to learn customer service pretty quickly, too. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. What do you think's the biggest lesson you've learned so far from opening your brewery?
Get used to change, adapt to it quickly, and pay attention.
Of course, yeah. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, basically. And do a lot of research.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm sure you know, before you opened, you came across a lot of people in the beer industry or just people who were into beer. Who do you think's inspired you the most?
There's so many things that inspire. Rich certainly inspired me buying his brew shop and starting his brewery. I was inspired by, and still am, really, always inspired by good food and good music. To me, there's lots of things with things like that can kind of apply in different areas of the business and brewing world, if you kind of think about them that way. The music stuff is kind of an attitude, inspiration, and overall feel of things. And the food is a great way to look at developing flavors for your beer.
Right.
And then the engineering comes into it all the time, too. I'm constantly looking at design of things and math.
Right. How does success look to you? How do you define success?
I guess having a happy and comfortable life. And to me, that's having some excitement, but not too much excitement. Having enough income to take care of the things that need taken care of. I mean, so far, we've been doing all right. There's definitely been some scary moments.
Yeah, right.
But that's part of the get used to change part. Yeah.
And how important is a mental break for you?
Definitely have to take those from time to time. You can't just work 24/7. Or you're just going to burn out.
And what does that look like for you? What does a mental break look like for you?
Me, a mental break, it can be one of several things. It certainly doesn't very often come in the form of an entire day. But I take them when I can get them. I enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy working on music. I'm a musician. So that gives me a kind of an outlet to get away.
You talk about being a musician. I know you teamed up with the band Hatebreed to create a couple of beers. How did that connection come about?
That's actually through Rob. Rob has been friends with those guys since they were some form of kids.
Really? That's awesome.
When the band was first forming, I think they got to be friends.
Right. I'm sure that's got to bring some attention towards the brewery. For the fans of that, for the fans of them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. That's a great form of advertisement in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really like the idea that we're getting involved with the metal community. We're all kind of partial to that.
Right. So what do you think's been the biggest change for you in the brewing industry since opening your brewery?
Well, so many changes. I got divorced basically as I was opening the brewery.
Right.
In a different part of the state with a different life now. Have a new baby.
Nice. Congrats.
Brewery is so far from where we started. We have more tanks now. We have more taps now. We have a patio. We have a completely different team. We have a great team.
Right.
It's a small team. It's going to be soon expanding.
And you talk about expanding. What does the future look like for Witch Doctor?
As I mentioned real quick earlier, we're working on installing a kitchen.
Oh, right. Yes. Perfect.
So we have a really good chef that we're working with to do that.
Okay.
And we're going to hire a couple of people to help. We had a couple of bartenders that aren't as available as they used to be, so we might have to bring on a bartender or two.
Right. And I love asking this question. What was your gateway beer into the craft beer world?
So, gateway beer into the craft beer world for me, the one that actually resonated with me as something different was probably a Hoegaarden. I'd had things before it, like I'd tried Sam Adams, I'd had Heineken. I don't know if you consider that craft beer either. Probably not.
Well, Sam Adams, definitely. I would consider that. That was one of the big ones coming up.
I'd had Goose Island and Great Lakes.
Right.
Those were the only three you could get out there.
Right.
That I didn't even realize was craft beer until years later. But the Hoegaarden definitely stood out to me as something different, and kind of made me realize different things could be done with beer.
Right. If somebody had come to you and asked you for advice on opening a brewery, as I'm sure they do, what advice would you give them?
I guess depending on the stage they're at and what the question is, just overall advice is do your research, plan carefully. Your most carefully planned budget is going to go over budget still by more than you think. It's going to take you longer than you think. And just better be what you really want, what your passion is. Because if it's not, it's really hard for something that you don't love.
Right. It can quickly go south.
Yeah, it can. But if you love it, and it can be the best thing ever.
Right, for sure. Did you happen to have a funny story for us?
So, funny stories. So many funny stories are so not public appropriate.
All right. I don't know where this is going.
I don't know if this is a funny story, but we think we have a ghost in the brewery.
Okay, that's good.
He's a friendly ghost. Not friendly per se, a little annoying. He likes doors.
He likes doors. Okay.
He likes doors. So there's a couple of doors that have definitely locked on their own. We've had to call each other, hey, can you unlock the door? This happened a lot during build-out, actually. Kind of calmed down mostly after that, but every now and then. One time, Mike and I were standing in the tap room talking to each other, and we watched one of the swinging doors just kind of swing open and then swing shut.
By itself.
By itself.
Have you thought about bringing in a witch doctor?
We're working on that.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe. Oh my God! All right, well that sounds fun. If you're into that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, don't be scared though. He's never done anything more than that.
No, I know. So I have a little segment called Quick Fire 5. It's 5 quick questions, beer related. Ready?
All right.
Yeah. One of your beers that you would recommend someone try.
I Am Fruit.
And what kind of beer is that?
It's a raspberry sour ale.
Raspberry sour ale. Okay. Favorite brewery other than your own?
Any one that I can actually get to. Let's see. I usually like Alvarium's beers.
Okay. Favorite style of beer?
Depends on the day. I like them all. I am partial to New England IPAs, though.
New England IPAs, okay. Barrel aged, imperial, or both?
Both.
Both. My man. And you have 1 keg of beer to hold you over for a 2-week quarantine. What beer are you choosing?
I think I'd have to go with the Brew, the Live for This lager. You can just keep drinking it.
Live for This lager?
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of it. That's the hate breed beer that you created, right? With them?
Yep.
Awesome. I think that's it, man. Josh, that's all I have for you.
All right.
Thank you, man. I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast with Josh Norris of Witch Doctor Brewing Company in Southington, Connecticut. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to my interview with Josh Norris, co-owner of Witch Doctor Brewing Company in Southington, Connecticut. Whether you're passing through, you live in the area, or just visiting a friend nearby, you should definitely check them out. Give them a follow on social media as well. Every other Sunday I'll be releasing a new episode, so subscribe, and you'll never miss one. Also, Be sure to check out our social media accounts too for updates on the podcast. And if you'd like, pass this along to somebody else that likes beer. Do them a favor. I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast. You stay safe out there.